Driver, start your engine! In the beginning, stock cars outran the police to deliver the hooch to our ancestors. So sweet. Are you ready for a trip down Victory Lane, where Richard Petty's winnings were insane and Dale Earnhardt put everyone to shame? Canadian Junior Handley is in the Hall of Fame. Live from Haldeman County, it's time for the Driver in Deep podcast. Are you ready?
Welcome to Driver in Deep, brought to you by wingnutsports.com, and thanks for joining us for episode 41. My name is Mark, and I'm here once again with my co-host, Alex Nagy. I need to apologize for this episode being late. Hang on a minute here, Alex. I need to apologize for being late? And hang on, the next sentence on the rundown says, I had some tech issues and had to abort. Well, you know what? For our listeners' benefit, our workflow for the podcast is that Alex is the one who puts together the outline for the rundown. But in this case, I have to call a timeout. I didn't have any tech issues, Alex. Wasn't it more that you were stuck plowing and shoveling your way out from the so-called blizzard we had? I've yet to see evidence of that. But anyway, I had some very important business meetings and had to figure out what sandals match my shorts. But I do think that's a little closer to the truth, don't you? Anyway, we're ready to go here on a Saturday morning, and with any luck, we'll have the episode out today. Wow. So, now that I have that off my chest, how's your week been, Nags?
Week's been good. Hey, listen, it sounds like you've been away for a bit because you got diarrhea of the mouth already. It just keeps running. Anyways, by the sounds of it, my week probably wasn't as great as yours. But I have no complaints, really.
Yeah. Well, why would you say that?
Well, for one, I see that your Bills won a playoff game last week, and you've been soaking up the sun for a while now. And like you said, well, we're digging up from underneath our first big snowstorm here in southern Ontario.
Hang on. Won a playoff game? Do I really need to remind you of this? I think it was only about a month ago that you said, and I quote or paraphrase, not only not going to win the division, the Bills aren't even going to make the playoffs. And then, hang on, when they did make the playoffs, I believe your maybe exact words, or as close as I can remember, were, I can't wait to watch a game next week so I can see the Bills get crushed by the Patriots. And you know,
you're paraphrasing, but anyways, okay. I was hoping that was the case.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know, I didn't want you to call me on getting the exact words here, but that's basically what you said. And what happened was the exact other way around. I mean, the performance by the Bills and Josh Allen was probably the most crushing defeat that Bill Belichick and the Patriots have ever had. And believe me, I couldn't be happier about that. Now, I also realize there's a long way to go here. We got a big game against Chiefs this weekend, tomorrow. But, you know, step one of the hashtag Pearl Street Parade for 2022 still on track.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the lowly Buffalo Sabres when you said Pearl Street Parade. Yeah, I'm sure anytime anybody loses, it's crushing in pro sports or otherwise. But, you know, I guess it's a big deal for you Bills fans. And it'll be the same thing 5 or 10 years from now when the Sabres win a game or get to the playoffs. That'll be a big deal. When you get beat up so bad for so many years, I get it. Everything's big for you guys. And no, it makes sense. I could see why you're over excited, and but I don't know how you take a huge amount of solace in beating an 18-year-old quarterback.
That you mean the team that you said was going to crush the Bills?
Because 3 years ago, Josh Allen was the 18, 19-year-old getting crushed every week.
Well, first of all, he was 21 when he came into the league, so
yeah,
there's just. This is all just kind of going to your credibility, I think, when it comes to sports that we're going to get to here in a minute. And let's address the Sabres on another episode so we don't get sidetracked too much here. But yeah, tomorrow, we got a big game against the Chiefs. We already crushed them in the regular season.
I'm going to stop you for a second. You keep saying we have a big, are you heading down there? Are you running
as in all the people that are part of their fan group? You know,
Oh,
just
yeah,
like you're part of the TML fan group.
No, I'm not.
Well, you
I'm
keep saying that, but we know it's not true.
No, you know it's true, and you keep bringing it up, but it's it's like beating a dead horse.
Yeah, I saw the TML boxers under your tree after Christmas. Don't try to give me that. But anyway, tomorrow's a big game.
Yeah, you were trying them on.
Not a chance, believe me. But yeah, you know, I don't expect to be anything different than the first time we played the Chiefs this year. So, you know, good luck to the Bills there. And yes, you know, Joni and my wife and I have been in the Dominican Republic for our friend John's wedding. And I do need to ask you, can I borrow some of that skin cream for burns? Because I do believe you just got burned, Alex.
I did.
I believe so. I think your credibility. You just got burned for your credibility. You said the Bills were going to get crushed by the Patriots. That didn't happen. It happened. Listen, the only time they didn't score a touchdown was when they kneeled down on the ball.
Now you know how you sound when you try to talk about hockey. You really have no clue, but you just spew shit out of your mouth.
Well, we can get into that next week. But anyway, why no mention about the Leafs in the rundown, Alex? You didn't have...
Because I never mentioned the Leafs.
Really?
I mentioned the Sabres. You mentioned the Leafs.
I do believe that you did say, and I'll give you credit for this, that the Leafs sucked goat balls the other night against the Rangers.
Right. And you know what? If you would have asked me about the Sabres, or you would have asked me about any other team that got their ass kicked that day, I would have told you the same thing.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just that day, though. It wasn't just that day. But, you know, that's nothing. You calling them saying that they suck goat balls. Their own coach. Did you see what their own coach even said? They said he said they were soft and purposeless. Now, I think that's pretty harsh. And obviously he said that for a reason, to try to maybe get some guys going here. But wow, I don't know. Like, as a huge TML fan, do you have any reason to believe that this year's team should expect any different results than the last several years?
So first off, unlike you, I'm not a fanboy. I'm not a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of hockey.
Yeah.
But having said that, have I seen anything yet that's going to be a different result from last year in the playoffs? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, and if they were 28-0 right now, it'd still be the same answer, because the playoffs aren't here yet.
Right.
The good thing about it is they're going to be in the playoffs. 16 teams are going to be in the playoffs, and one of them will not be, again, the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the NHL being a developmental league and all that later on, maybe on the next episode. But how about for now we talk a little bit about motorsports, you know, and you can maybe fill me in on what's been going on since I've been away.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, what you missed was actually unless you were, I'm sure you never had time to watch the Flow Racing stream, but the Chili Bowl was on for a week while you're away, or 5 days.
Yeah.
Held indoors in Oklahoma. They had like 370-ish cars. I think the week or the 2 weeks before that, they had the micros there, and there was, I don't know, 600 or 800 or something. So crazy couple weeks down there in Oklahoma. The Chili Bowl, you know, it's the best midget car racers or midget car teams on the planet. It was an entertaining week of action with Tanner Thorson winning. Your boy Chase Elliott was there also. Mm-hmm. He did good. He keeps getting better on the dirt, and he didn't make the big show, but he was.
He had quite a wreck, though, too. Do you see that?
He did. Yeah, he had a big wreck, but he ran good. I think he was running one of Larson's cars, and it was good. There are a lot of big shooters there, a lot of people, a lot of asphalt guys trying dirt. It's funny, you know. Don't see a lot of dirt guys trying asphalt, but that's a story for another day. Also saying to myself, along with my brother Jim and She for Real, his wife, and my nephew Hudson, son Tyler, we took Gibbs, the colorblind flagger, out for his first attempt at disc golf while you were gone.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. You know what? It sounds like so first of all, as far as the Chili Bowl is concerned, you know, I did miss most of it. You're right. I didn't get a chance, but I did get some updates from you and Gibber while I was away. And I'm definitely going to have to watch it next year, but I have to hear a little bit more about how Gibber made out playing disc golf.
Well, first off, I must say, I think he's got great potential. He's already trying to be creative with his shots.
Well, we've established your credibility already, so okay.
Yeah, well, although I don't think he's been bragging about it, but I told him he did good. He threw some backhands, he threw some forehands, and his forehand's already better than mine, because I don't have one. And Yeah, as we always tell people, depending on the course, believe it or not, it's a hell of a workout with the elevation changes at different properties, you know, through bush and over trees and everything else. And Christie Lake is one of those courses. So I think it was, the back nine, but especially around hole 15, he started to fade pretty bad. And I warned him, listen, before we started, I warned him, I said, if you go down, man, we are going to keep playing. I'm not giving you mouth to mouth. I'm not carrying your ass out of the bush. You're on your own. And then, of course,
Did you have to get a dog sled to pull him out or what?
No, I told you. He was on his own. We were going to call for help and play on.
Okay.
Then reality started to set. I'm thinking, shit, I was getting a bit nervous. And anyways, we stopped. I think it was on 15. Cracked an adult beverage to see if we can get him through, and we did. But all in all, it was a blast. And I don't know, he hasn't really told me, or I don't know if he's told you yet, but he hasn't said that he loved it. But I think he enjoyed it.
Well, you know what? He certainly had a couple of people to look to for some guidance there. Tyler and Hudson both throw really great. So, that's great. I wish I was there, and it does sound like he had some fun. And, maybe we have another one hooked. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But, speaking of racing, it's isn't it that time of year where the news starts coming out in the short track world about driver movement and sponsorships and car builder changes, etc.? It's an exciting time as we approach Daytona because it seems like things are going to really ramp up after that. Yeah,
it is that time for sure. But before we move on to that, I was just thinking about one of our listeners, my nephew, Jason Green.
Yeah.
And he's contacted us about going out to get introduced to disc golf. So, Jason, we'll have to get you. I hope the story about the colorblind flagger hasn't deterred you. So, anyways, yeah, January starts to ramp up. There's in the short track scene, there's a bunch of news. Of course, in big time stuff, there's a bunch of news coming out, starting to leak. Once we get to Daytona in mid-February, of course, it's kind of the unwritten thing here in Canada that once Daytona happens, our racing season starts because it kind of gets everybody jacked up and you're on the backside of winter. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. A lot of rumors out there, a lot of people with thinking that so-and-so is doing this or driving that and so on. So it's kind of a fun time for sure. And today, that's why we have J.R. Fitzpatrick on with us. He has a little bit of news regarding his 2022 season to share with us and with our listeners. I know a bunch of people have been asking him, and he's been kind enough to come on and kind of tell us what he's doing this year. So that's going to be fun. But before we bring him on, also speaking about racing and racing families, I need to send out on our behalf condolences to the Dupuis family, because earlier this week we lost the patriarch of that family, Marty Dupuis. The Dupuis family they're another great racing family from the Windsor area. We talked about the loss of Jack Monahan a couple months ago from that area. So many great racers and racing families down there. But Marty, he's the father of my buddy Sean Dupuis, and a hell of a guy that everybody loved. When you lined up beside the Marty's garage car, wrenched by Marty and driven by Sean, you're in for a hell of a race, man. I'll tell you that. And nobody would say anything different. But, then afterwards, of course, we'd spend hours talking about it because we all got along really good. So anyways, RIP to Mr. Dupe.
Yeah, that sounds like he was a great man. Well, Alex, how about we bring JR in?
Let's do it.
Okay, you can find JR Fitzpatrick by searching for him on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Welcome back to Driver in Deep, JR, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, same to you guys, and thanks for having me back on, and I'm looking forward to round 2.
All right. Well, just for our listeners, you were on with us before the start of last season on episode 9 of Driver in Deep, and here we are now at episode 41. So how have you been?
Just staying busy, yeah, that was almost a couple years ago now, I think. Yeah, things are great. I got my little one Adeline's here and just working on some cars and trying to stay a busy man.
Hi, JR. Like Mark said, nice to have you back. I know part of the reason for you being on with us today is to talk about what you have cooking for this season. let's go back and talk a little bit about the 2021 season. It was quite a roller coaster ride for you and your team. Tell us a little bit about your season. And, I always say this, the good teams fight through adversity and always end up climbing their way back to the top of the pile. And I think you and your team ultimately did that by the end of the season.
Yeah, it was very difficult. We put together pretty much 2 cars. My Van Dorn car, we did a bunch of upgrades to it that I thought we needed for, Canadian style racing, and it was beautiful. And then I put together that WMI car, actually with a bunch of spare parts I had so many spare parts I could have built that car. So then we went and tested, and I just decided to commit with the WMI car, and we were fast. Like once we started doing things that I was comfortable doing, we got really fast. And then we went to the Triple Crown race for quickest in practice, and I got wrecked, I think, coming out of turn 2 on the first lap. So that should have been a sign right away that the season was going to suck. But you know how it goes. It's just we're not normal. I always tell everybody, like on a post the other day, someone tweeted, you made that old car, you're working on a street car. It's like, man, I'm not normal. I'd rather go in circles. So, we cut all the suspension off it, fixed it. We go to the first ABC race, and I put DJ in my other car we were putting together there, and he finished 3rd, and I finished 4th. So it was a great first outing. And then we go to Flamborough, and then just totally cars destroyed. Like it could have been fixed, but it would have been a lot of time, a lot of money to fix it. And then it was all downhill from there because I committed back to the car DJ was driving. And then my wife and I, Laura, were sitting here on a Friday night getting ready to go to Flamborough on a Saturday because we were going to commit to the full points championship. And she's like, well, let's just go to the track and have a date night, just you and I. So literally just her and I went to the racetrack. Teddy came later because it was last minute. And then, of course, we're quickest in practice, go out in the heat. Because I've never been there, they put me in the slow heat. And then some guy wrecked in front of me and just absolutely destroyed that car. So it was so bad, I just went back to my trailer and just bawled because it was just stressful. I was tired, out of money, and just didn't know what to do.
Yeah, that was. I remember we had a few texts back and forth at that time. You were pretty down for sure.
Yeah, this sport's definitely not for the faint of heart. But JR, before we get to the 2022 season, I see that on social media you have a new fun project. You've located one of your old cars, and how did you find it, or did it find you? It's not like a Harry Potter thing, is it? And tell us what you're doing with it right now.
So it's a pretty cool story, I think. I mean, I was literally just laying in bed one night just a couple years ago and just looking through, some of the racing pictures I found, some of those hashtags that people do. And then sure enough, I noticed a car that Jason Wood had, and I swear I looked at it like just from a distance. I'm like, that looks really familiar, like the dash and the way the body was. I'm like, that I think is my old car. So I messaged him. He's like, yeah, that was yours. We bought it from Chris Bladdock. So it's only had 3 owners. And then sure enough, he still had it. So of course we started talking, and I just asked him like, how much do you want for it? And really, for all the parts they gave me a really good deal. And so when COVID hit, I couldn't really go get it right away because they're from St. Thomas. And so sure enough, I went and picked it up this year and just loaded up a bunch of parts. And it's a really cool build. It's in great shape still. It's a 2000 Howe chassis that my dad purchased to go race Sawbill Beach when he was still doing CASCAR. And he only raced it once, he only ran it once because it blew up in practice. So then what they started doing is Donnie Thompson would run it in speed weeks, the 2 winters, so 2000, 2001. And then it sat for a year, and I ran my first race at Flamborough in I don't know if it was a Triple Crown. It was just Oktoberfest, I think. And all them all-star guys would come, and man, back then there'd be like 30 cars there. And I didn't do very well, but it's my first race. I think it was 13 or 14. And then, I raced it part-time in 2003, 2004, 2005, and then we sold it in 2006.
Hey, by the way, I also hear we have a mutual friend that's been relentlessly hounding you to be your test pilot once it's completed.
Well, it's old school car, right? It's got the old school bucket seats, and it barely has any headrest. So of course I just thought Alex would be the perfect candidate because he wore those open face helmets and had that crazy dirty old mustache on front of him. So I figured I'd be the guy to watch, and he can roll in with the helmet and the stash.
Actually, get it straight, buddy. Lane Zardo texted the other day. He said it's a flavor saver.
Oh, jeez. Oh, offside.
What are you thinking? I'm talking about like supper and dinner and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Jeez, guys. Yeah, I'm glad that you're rebuilding it. I think you posted on Facebook. I don't know if you saw my response. Then you texted me, and I told you, man, I texted you and I said, you need to save that car and don't make it, a new super stock or something and I only say that because, and I think I told you, for me, man, every month I think, damn, I wish I would have had still have one of my old cars. And because once they're, in my case, although my last cast car is Dave Bailey's dirt Thunder car. So I still have a chance once Bailey gets done with that thing. But once they're gone, they're gone. And honestly, once you're done racing, like me, you'll wish you had one. So I'm glad you're rebuilding it. I think you'd be happy down the road. It's kind of like our buddy Derek Lynch. He found one of his dad's old cars and he's rebuilding that. So I can't wait to follow along. So let's get to the news, buddy. Yeah, go ahead.
I think age, because really I never appreciated all the cars I had. Like, I know for a fact when I was younger, if I said to my dad, hey, I want to keep that championship car, we'll just put it over in we call it the bus barn, just put it over there and cover it up and look at 10 years, he would have did it. Like, he would have kept them all. He doesn't care. But it's an thing when you're in that moment, you don't really understand how important some of those cars or pieces were. And I do know where my cast car championship car is. I messaged Derek White asking, if you ever want to sell that, you call me first, because I think that'd be so cool if I had my first stock car, which is the Slate Mall I'm working on, my cast car championship car, and then hopefully my 2022 APC championship car. Would be nice if I can add that in there.
That'd be awesome for sure. That'd be really cool. I'll tell you, you'll be happy you did it down the road. Also, we talked back and forth about the engine, and it sounds like you've got some components from the original engine. Looks like you're going to get that thing built up like it was.
Yeah. So, and your text helped me a lot when you texted me, because I was originally wanting to go road course racing with it, because anybody who followed me in Pinty's, I was really good on the road course stuff in the time. So I thought, man, that'd be fun. Like, I have my old car. I can tell people it's my first car, blah, 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 but still not the same, right? So
Correct.
I am putting, it's a heavily modified, obviously, Camaro clip on it, which is what the car had. And the engine was a steel-headed built engine. So it probably made like 450 horsepower with a 2-barrel on it. And yeah, so the Woods family there, they had the original heads, intake, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to take it all to my engine man, AP Performance in Windsor, and tell him to build me up some power, old school.
That sounds awesome. That'd be so cool. Can't wait to follow along on both of these builds for sure, yours and Derek's. So we'll follow along. I'm sure you'll be posting a bunch of pictures on social media. Anyways, let's get to 2022,
Alex, I might need you to come help pick up the right spring to put in that thing.
Yeah, you might. Just give me a call, man. I'm there. I'll be coming by to see it.
I think that's 100-pound right front spring in it.
Yeah. Now you put them in the right rear.
Yes. Definitely.
It's funny how it's changed. Again, listen, there's a ton of rumors out there about a lot of different people and drivers and teams and different types of racing at this time of year. Me and Mark talked about it in the intro, how it's that time of year, getting ready for Daytona. And in Canada here, we say Daytona is the start of our season. And a lot of people have, chatted to me about different drivers, and, you always come up, and I know there's some chatter about what JR Fitzpatrick's doing in 2022. So what can you tell us about your program this year? It seems like, to me, from what I know, maybe you're a little bit back to kind of where it started for you.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows I try to move it around a bunch because I'm a competitive guy, right? So I've always ran McCall chassis and everything I've ever raced, ever. And obviously had a ton of success. They're right down the road in London. And then really in 2018, when I decided to go to sell my championship car, which was, looking back, really stupid, because that car was still amazing. I tried I tried going to the West with the Van Dorn stuff only because not that I had any disagreements or dislikes with anything that the McCall organization was doing. Is just like, hey, if I want to get better, I need to try and do something totally different. So I did that in 2019, and then I did it again with WMI last year. And to be honest, it never felt right. It never felt like, my place. Never felt like you're at home, and just, I don't know. It's the feel. I didn't like the feel of a lot of stuff that was going on. So really, I just, sold everything I have, Alex, and I have nothing left in the shop. Like, all I have is 2 battery operated Jeeps. I guess one's a 4-wheeler for the littlest one, and this old project. So I literally sold everything I have because I don't want mixed match. I want one car, one very small set of spares that I can carry around, because I had everything. I could have built a car at the racetrack if somebody needed it. So I'm just kind of trying to clean up my program like I had in 2018, just be a little less prepared, if that makes any sense, because I think there is a such thing as being over-prepared and overthinking. So for 2022, I'm only going to be doing the APC tour, and I've teamed up with the McCall or MRE company to be in one of their cars. Obviously their stats prove themselves. There is other manufacturers out there like WMI and, Port City Cars is out there and whatnot that are showing very good promise and speed. But I just feel like I'm at home when I'm with the Mike McCall and Paulie and all them guys. And like I said, I know for years I said I was going to try not to go back because I'm a competitive guy. But let's just face it, they got it going on.
Well, go ahead, Alex.
Well, when you said you sold that championship car, JR, the 2018 car, for those that don't know, you did the WMI car last year, the Van Dorn car from the year before, you redid that car. And like you say, you've got rid of them now. But then towards the end of the year, I think we should say part of, kind of where you started getting back on track again was when you teamed up with Taylor Holdaway and his boys. And I think one of the cars you drove there was an MRE car. Was that your old championship car, or was that another one?
That car was a car that Jamie Cox owned and Kenny Wallace drove.
Right. That's right.
That's a funny story because Taylor and I are good buddies. We talked at every race, just about stuff. And then he always told me, like, hey, if you ever need me or need a car, you just let me know. So I said, okay. And then when I sold everything, so after that one Flambeau race, I sold my last car. So I had nothing. And I didn't want to risk wrecking it because it was sold. So I messaged Taylor. I'm like, hey, I'm going to need a car for Sunset if you got one. I want to finish out the season. And it was a 2015 or 2016 McCall car. So it's a little bit older, but a lot of updates have been done to it. And so I asked Mike, I'm like, hey, Mike, just want to know, how do you think I'll do in that car? He's like, oh, for what it is, you'll probably be in the top 10 solid. Okay, that's all right. Sunset, I would take a top 10. Well, anyway, we go out and practice. And anybody who's never driven a race car before, or anybody has, might understand that as soon as you sit in the car and you start warming your tires up, you just know, right? And I just knew. I turned that wheel, scrubbing those tires, I just knew this is where I got to go because the car just felt right. And then obviously we tested, we were fast. I know there's the evil word, testing. And,
we're going to get to that later. Yeah.
Well, practice on race day and first 2 laps, something like that, the engine blew up. And then obviously we started last and won that race. And man, that car was fast. So obviously I got to thank Taylor and his whole group. They worked really hard on getting me in a really good competitive piece. But I think it just shows you, it doesn't matter how old a car is. When you get something that works, it just works. And Delaware, we were good in practice, but we ended up losing power to the engine. And unfortunately, it ended up blowing again on Connor James a couple of weeks later. But yeah, I was happy. I think I owe a lot of credit to Taylor only because he put the fire back in me. I brought all my guys with me as well, but it's just sometimes you just need that little kick in the ass, keep you going.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. Shout out to Taylor. He's really doing a nice job with his race program. Yeah, he's not a manufacturer, but he'll buy stuff, chassis from different people, prep them. He's getting a stable now. He's, like you said, Connor James, who's a hell of a racer. We're going to get him on the show here at some point. Rob DiVincenzo, Tyler. I think he's doing some stuff with Colton Evernham now. So I'm sure having your experience there helped that group. Not that Taylor's got a lack of experience, but just it never hurts to have a bunch of big minds together. And yeah, I think Taylor's doing a heck of a job, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how his season goes.
Yeah, JR,
he'll do well. I mean,
Go ahead.
Reason why I was in 41 car at the end of the year, he just wanted my feedback on that car, because really I would have stayed in the McCall car, but he just wanted some feedback, and we won for Oktoberfest with it, and then we could have won Autumn Colors, but I got absolutely rooted from that deal. So yeah, he's going to do really well next season, so I'm excited for him and his group.
Yeah, hey JR, this news sounds like a great opportunity for sure. That'll give you another chance maybe to add a second APC championship. And as you know, I'm fairly new to the sport, but I'm learning fast. And one of the things that I've noticed is that some of the drivers or teams seem to switch chassis builders now and then. And yeah, good teams still always seem to, finish up front no matter the manufacturer. So why is that? Is it so competitive that you're always looking for an edge, or do you get, pissed off with a particular building or something else altogether?
I'm going to be honest, because that's how I just like to keep things. So a lot of it is because, I'll just be brutally honest, is a lot of people think that they're not getting the same equipment as, say, their top tier guys. Okay, so you got, Brandon Watson, Matt Pritico, Joe Lawrence, and let's just say B. Shepard. So everyone said those cars were prepared by Mike McCall's racing group, and then everyone just gets all pissed off thinking, well, we don't have the same as those guys. Well, I can guarantee that the MRE group is putting the exact same effort in all those programs. It's just, how do you execute? I mean, just because those cars are built out of that shop, they have their own teams. Like Brandon's got his own team, Pete's got his own team. They all have their own people. So you got to execute however you want to execute to be strong. Like people in APC, it's like the old CASCAR days. You can't just show up with the best car and expect to win, because everything has to fall in place. Your tires got to be right. You got to walk in with a good attitude, because if you walk in with a crappy attitude, you're going to be shit right away. That's why I learned about Sunset, because I was always so bad there. But if you go in saying, I'm going to be good today, you're going to be good. So I think it's just a matter of people thinking that it's not fair. They think that other people are going to treat them better. And the competition, man, it drives people crazy, because you're talking a tenth and a half, 2/10 out of 30 cars. I was one of them guys, right? I'm like, I think I can go somewhere else and be better. Well, I can tell you, it's a rude awakening, because, in 2018, it was 2016, that car was built, and Mike built me an amazing car, and my team executed with their help, and we won a lot of races with that car, and we won a championship, and I tried going elsewhere, and it's just not the same. I mean, like I said, the McCall group, they got it going on.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, there's a lot of chassis builders that have it going on, and one thing, you tell me if I'm wrong, but and I've done it myself, so this is how I see this. And you're right. It's all about how things are perceived. And sometimes what I've noticed is this: after being in the sport for so long and still being in the sport, but on the other side of it now, on the management side, I tell people straight up now, and it's like you say, whoever the builder is, when somebody else that has one of those cars isn't doing as good as one or two other drivers that have those cars, like you say, they think they're getting more stuff. I don't know about you, but what I tell people and what I find over time is simply this: you have the same stuff. You're just not as good. Let's be honest. Sometimes you're just not as good as the other guy or the other girl.
Yeah, I'm not going to come out and say that, because sometimes I think that might be bad if another driver told another driver, look, man, you're just not as good as me. But I know what you're saying. It comes
no, that's fair.
A lot of it is experience. I agree totally. And two, if you're at the racetrack complaining that you don't have the same stuff as anybody else, you're just gonna run like shit anyway. So
yeah.
But like, for example, we can use the Van Dorn stuff for me. Obviously, Johnny and Butch Van Dorn are extremely smart guys. They've won every major race you can think of in the United States, but the Snowball. Extremely talented, very smart guys. But the difference is we're on a different tire. We're on a spec shock. We're on a totally different tracks. So you can't bring a Port City car or a Van Dorn car into Canada and expect to kick everybody's butt right away unless you have support. And obviously, everybody knows this day and age, it's hard to get support because you just simply can't get here or there. So that's tough. So I just feel like if you're going to play in somebody's backyard, you're going to want to be with that guy because he's been there. He's got all the experience. And I how you perceive things is definitely probably the right way to put it. The variety of talent and experienced racers in APC varies, and people are only going to get better by having support from manufacturers or other teams. Nobody's ever asked other teams for support, like, hey, what can I do to do better? I mean, I've never had anybody ever come to ask me about lines, gear, suspension stuff, or springs or whatever. So I feel if people are more open with each other, the racing would be better and everybody will run better.
Yeah, I agree. I would never turn somebody away when I raced if they wanted to know what we were doing. My thought was just like you said, I wanted, more competition, but I also, if somebody's just getting their feet wet, you want them to be able to be as good as they can be because it's a better race for everybody.
Yeah.
And when I said, it wasn't trying to be crude or cruel about sometimes people are just better than you. It's the same in any sport, man. It's like hockey. Who else is as good as Connor McDavid? Nobody. It doesn't matter what skates he has. He's Connor McDavid. It's just some athletes are better than others. That's my point. And sometimes that's just the case flat out.
Definitely. You must be talking about hockey. I know nothing about hockey. All I do know is I'm supposed to be cheering for Maple Leafs.
Well, there's two people on this then that don't know anything about hockey. You and Mark.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that next week, Alex. We talked mostly about football in the intro today, JR, just so you know.
Well, while we're talking about builders, I just wanted to touch on this too. Ontario being the biggest province in the country, we have, the most race cars probably, and Quebec's right there for sure. Great province, great racing province. But back in the day, there was a handful of car builders. And then for the last, quite some time, there were some guys that weren't really sustainable, but there's always been McCall. And up until now, you touched on WMI earlier. We have White Motorsports Incorporated now, which I think is great. And for many reasons, I think it's really good. And, a couple stick out in my mind. And one is the fact that two builders can thrive, which they both are, tells me our sport is in a good spot. Secondly, simply competition is great. And to be honest, I think if you were to ask McCall, who's, being the biggest car builder for quite some time, I think he loves it. And I think it makes him more honest, if you will, for lack of a better term. It makes him have to turn the wick up. Whitey builds great stuff. So we have two great car builders plus the other guys that are messing around. So I think it's a good thing. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good for the sport because I do remember in 15, 16 were the first 2 years of the APC tour, and McCall car did not win the championship.
Right.
I remember talking to him at the tech shed, and he's like, I gotta get to work. And you know what? That pushed him and motivated him to keep digging. And they've become now obviously the most successful chassis manufacturer in Canada, in my opinion. Stats prove that. So now you have WMI coming. He's just going to push him even harder, right? Because, Triton showed extreme speed. Andrew Russell showed a ton of speed.
Yeah.
So now, he's not just him and his whole group. I know I keep saying Mike, but he has a ton of talented people there. They are going to be working very hard this winter, which I know they are. And they got to change it up, and they are. And I feel like if you're in a McCall car for next year, you're going to be definitely very fast because I've seen some of the stuff they're working on, and it's beautiful equipment, and a lot of it makes sense, and it's not going to the whole theory. This is my theory. We're going back to what works, and I just know that their program's going to work. They're going to motivate each other. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Alex, do you have any different reasons why you think the competition in this area is good?
Just what JR just said there. They'll motivate each other. And when you have two talented people or groups of people like those two, man, it's good for the racer because they're both going to produce great stuff. And it just keeps, it keeps them both, it just keeps the whole industry. And I want to use the word honest because neither one of them are dishonest, but it just keeps the business honest, if you will, keeps them on track, and it'll keep prices in some areas in check, I think. So I just think it's good. It's like competition in any sort of business. So That's it.
Yeah. There's quite a few builders south of the border. And JR, I believe you've even bought cars from the US in the past. Now, I would think myself that it's hard to get good service when you, especially nowadays, but generally speaking, when you are across the border from one another and who knows how many miles away from each other. And I don't mean the quality of the cars or the lack of knowledge, but I've got to believe that sometimes you need some hands-on or some face-to-face to do it right. Do you believe that to be the case?
Yeah, I think you touched a bit on it, AJR, with the Van Doorn car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like I said, Butch and Johnny are extremely smart guys, beautiful cars. It's just, man, like around here, like a Flamborough Speedway or a Peterborough Speedway, I'm just using them because they're smaller. It's a totally different animal. Like the tires we're on are totally different. The shocks we're on are different. It all makes a huge difference to how the car performs, especially tires. You're only going to go as fast as the tire is going to allow you. It doesn't matter what you do. So it was tough for them to get here because of all the COVID stuff when it started in 2020-ish, like 2019. I thought we were on a good roll a little bit, but we're only speaking on the phone and texting. So I'm trying to explain something, trying to send pictures, a little video, whatever. It's not the same as when you're there. When you're looking right at it. You can move around on the track. You can look at how the nose is on entry, center, exit. All that stuff makes a huge difference in this day and age of racing because you're trying to get as low as possible, trying to get all the way to the left. Like it's just it's tough. And I know now, like I'm pretty sure things are easing up a little bit. You can get some of those guys come here, but it's still not the same. It's like when you're, I don't know, when you build your own game in your backyard and you practice at that game for a year, and then you invite your buddies over, and you know all the little shortcuts, you know what the grounds are going to be, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of what it's like. You have home track advantage basically, and I feel like builders in Canada have that advantage because, like I said, they know what the track's going to do, the tire, et cetera, et cetera. So the U.S. equipment is obviously beautiful, and their technology might be a little ahead of ours at times. But just for around here, racing in Canada, I think you need to be in a Canadian builder.
Good points. Well, it looks like you're set up to have a good season. I mean, I think every year you start out that way. And like you said earlier, look what happened last year. You just never know, man. It's a tough sport. But looks like you got a good program going on. Looks like you're comfortable, so that's great. And it seems to me, and I know you've raced a ton of things, and you will race whatever else comes your way if the opportunity's right. And, I'm not saying any division is better than the other, but I don't think there's anything more competitive than this late model deal across North America for that matter. And you just seem comfortable there. And, the series here in Ontario has a huge mix of talent from veterans like yourself. You're a veteran now, buddy, in case you didn't know. And then, with the news yesterday about young Kyle Steckley coming on board to the APC series for the foreseeable future. It's a nice mix. The future's bright, a ton of potential.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing I'd like to touch on, just the young kids like Triton Lathbridge and Scott Steckley. I've seen them since their moms were walking around the track with them in their arms, like just little babies. And I feel like the APC Tour and Ontario short track racing in general is providing some great talent on and off the track. I mean, look at both those guys. Amazing speakers. They're great at promoting their brand. And that's why they get those opportunities with APC, with Scott Steckley, and then the RG Sports for Triton Lathbridge. Just two amazing talents. And there's more talent out there that we don't even know about, right? Like, who was it? It was Dale Earnhardt Sr. said once that the greatest race car driver is not racing on Sundays, or in our case on Saturdays. So like we've always said before, if anybody ever wants to get in racing, you come talk to myself, you come talk to anybody, you can join the team anytime. I love having people around. And then, like I said, there's so many awesome divisions in Ontario that you can get started in. Just for me, for being around racing so long, I started racing in 1995. APC series is just how I feel is where I need to be for competition level, for the cars I like to check. And obviously, I just think right now it's the big show. If you want to be a part of the big show, that's just where it's at.
Yeah, and I mentioned Kyle Steckley, and you mentioned Triton, which is great. I'm glad you did. Or not Kyle Steckley, yeah, but Kyle and Triton, and like you said, and that's I don't want anybody to think I'm leaving them out because, like you said, there's so much young talent that we have right now. I can't even think of all their names right now, but you all know who you are, and not leaving anybody out on purpose. We just, I'm excited about the talent we have coming up for sure.
And all the young kids too are so great at building their brands nowadays. They have tools that weren't available even 5-10 years ago. And, following them on social media and so on, and seeing how fired up they are and how they're building their own following and building their brand, it's really great to see.
Yeah, definitely. Social media plays a huge role. And for some reason, I don't understand. I have a massive following. I never thought I was that interesting, really. Like, even through school, I was always told you were a weird duck. You are not interesting. You're not going to do much with your life, blah, blah. Boy, I wish I showed my teacher that now.
Hey, I thought the same of you, but hey, you're on the podcast twice now. Must be.
Yeah. Listen, JR, before we let you go, we started something new since last time you're on Driver and Deep, and it's called Rapid Fire, where Alex and I will take turns saying something or asking you something. And what we'd like you to do is just give us a quick answer, the first thing that comes to mind. So having said that, are you ready to go here?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. I'll start, Mark.
Okay.
I think I know the answer to this. Race wins or championships?
I'm going to say race wins.
I know you like them both, but yeah, you can't win a championship usually without winning races, right?
Stuck. I was going to say championships, but that's why, definitely.
Any superstitions prior to a race?
I have to wear the same socks.
Like all year?
Hey, we got back to socks, Alex. Do they say left and right on them?
Actually, they don't say left and right. I'm not even joking. The right one is green and the left one's red.
I think you just proved my point. If you go back and listen to episode 9 that you were on in our intro, we talked a little bit about that. And, all kidding aside, though, that's pretty funny.
He does it for a purpose, though, Mark.
Yeah, hear you.
The best driver you have ever raced against? I know there's been a lot.
I mean, well, you'll know why I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say Peter Gibbons, only because he was my man when I was growing up. He was the guy I idoled growing up.
Yeah, good choice.
Hey, if you could try any type of race car that you haven't tried yet, what would it be?
I got to think what I haven't tried. Trans Am car.
Yeah. Been on a bunch of racetracks in your career so far. What's your favorite?
Atlanta.
Interesting. That'd be cool.
Is there anyone you haven't raced? Oh, sorry. Say that again.
I was just saying that Atlanta's really fast and really narrow. And when I first went there, I was told to hold it wide open. And I think in the trucks at that time, we did like 193 going into turn 1.
Nice.
Hey, is there anyone that you haven't raced against that you wish you had?
No, because I feel like I've raced against a lot of good people. I think, I know it's supposed to be a short answer, but I'd like to race just against some new younger talent. I just want to be, one day I want to be the 50-year-old in the 20-year-old group.
Won't be long, pal. Won't be long.
It comes quick.
Is there one thing people don't know about J.R. Fitzpatrick that they should?
I'm friendly.
Fair. Mark's got one here. Mark's got one here for you, and I'm going to set it up.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, if JR was allowed to do this 100 times a week, he would. But I'm still interested to see what his answer is.
Okay. Here's a question. Testing, yes or no?
For the better of the sport, no. For J.R. Fitzpatrick, yes.
Told you. If he could change, I know this is tough, but if something comes to mind, if he could change one thing about our sport, what would it be?
Tire rule.
Good one.
How about any hobbies outside of racing?
Well, anything that's fast, but really just being a dad.
This is an important one, at least for me. Your favorite food?
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Wow.
Perfect.
Is that really how we're going to end things here?
Absolutely. Sounds good to me. Listen, great having you back, man. Good to see that you're willing to share with everybody your 22 plans here with Driver in Deep, and we hope you enjoyed it.
I always enjoy it, and I listen to every episode you guys do because I do a lot of traveling for work, and keep up the good work, and get growing that mustache, buddy.
It'll be ready. Do I have to dye it brown again for the test drive, or just leave it white?
I would die laughing. You polish though.
maybe a little bit of wax too, Alex. But anyway, best of luck this year, JR. And for our listeners, don't forget to look for JR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go Bills.
We're wide open sideways.
All right, you're clear.
The talk is cheap.
You're clear on that.
We got the foot to the floor. We're gonna drive our in